Welcome to a live episode of Outlaw Nation. I'm your host, Stephen Foster, and this is the Shady Sports Network. Joining me tonight, the man responsible for all of this, not only this show, but others like it around the league, my producer, Sam Just. Sam, welcome to the show.
How's it going today, Steve?
Good. So you're going to join me tonight, and we are going to break down this game we got coming up tonight at 6 o'clock versus Rapid City Marshals.
Yes, sir.
So what are you thinking some of the key highlights going into this game?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at like key points for this game, I would big question for me is who starts at quarterback for both teams. I mean, so far as the Rapid City Marshals go, we've seen Jaheim Bird Mix kind of take the reins for them a couple weeks in a row. I know they kind of brought in Kyle Michelle in order to start, but so far he hasn't taken the reins. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with there. They're both very different quarterbacks, so it dramatically changes their offensive philosophy depending on who they choose, which is very similar, as we know, to the Billings situation where, you know, if you choose Lorenz, you're not necessarily getting the athlete that you have in Rio, but you're getting a passer that you don't necessarily have in Rio as well.
Yep. I think I believe Lorenz will probably get the starting nod tonight. That's just I don't have direct intel, but I think he'll get the starting nod tonight. The question is then what do you do with Rio? You say, you know, he's such a dynamic athlete, that he's such a dynamic player that, you know, you got to find somewhere on the field for him to do his thing.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I mean, I've talked about it in, last time I was on the show with you, that why not put him and Lorenz in the same backfield? Really throw the defense off, because then they don't know who's going to get the ball on the snap. I'm not like, again, Lorenz is not necessarily the dual threat or, that Rio is, but he could catch a pass, I mean, if it really came down to it. So, I mean, maybe he's a decoy kind of running out or on a route or something like that. But I mean, you really just add that extra wrinkle for a defense to prepare for. And that's one more thing that they have to think about throughout the game. And also you get the opportunity to maybe use Rio as a running back in situations.
Right. For sure.
Chris with the hot takes as per usual. I would let him have a cold one.
No way. I think he's going to have, speaking of Lorenz Stefan, quarterback, I think he's set for a monster game tonight. I can't wait to see him another week of practice under their belt. Him with wide receiver Josh Bess and Caleb Woods, man, they are going to be a force to deal with tonight. And then you throw in Josh Batiste in the backfield.
100%.
Is going to be a lot to deal with for the Rapid City Marshals, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think, I'd have to look at the statistics real quick, but I think Rapid City has one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So I look for Josh Batiste to have a very big game. Unfortunately, as we know, you spoke about it before, D2 is unfortunately not with them in this game. So we won't be seeing a little bit of that power game that they have brought in a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but I think Josh Batiste can definitely hold his own, and I think he's definitely going to be there for the stretch run throughout this game, and we're going to see him get a lot of carries.
For sure. And not only is D2 not going to be able to make it, he's got personal reasons that he's dealing with. He will be rejoining the team shortly. But I'm also hearing defensive back, maybe Daquan Lewis, might not be getting a start tonight. He's also dealing with some personal issues. Team recently did sign back Brayshawn Stewart, otherwise known as Sean. Good dude, solid player. I don't know how much of starting action he's going to get tonight, if any. But look at him and Devontae Brown to secure up that secondary along with Damian Francis.
Absolutely. It'll be an interesting matchup because one of the big key components that the Rapid City Marshals have offered throughout the season is Kevin Chisholm. I mean, he's been consistent throughout the year. He's not necessarily lighting up the leagues in terms of touchdowns, but I think if you put him on a different roster, maybe he's got a lot higher numbers. I mean, they've had to deal with a very dual threat at quarterback, a guy who's listed as defensive back many games. So I think his statistics might look a little bit different if he was, say, in Topeka with Lorenz before or here in Billings.
What's Kirsch taking now?
Y'all should be careful. They will play dirty because it's the last game. I don't know that they necessarily will. I think given the fact that their season is more or less over, you look at this game two different directions. One, you're probably playing spoiler, or you want to play spoiler for the Outlaws. You want to, kind of knock them down a peg right before they go into the playoffs. You don't necessarily get a playoff game against them, but you still want to prove that you could beat a playoff team heading into next season for the coaching staff's sake, if nothing else. And then as far as the Outlaws situation, I don't think they're going to play dirty on either side of the ball because of the fact that they have mutual respect for each other. I mean, at the end of the day, all these guys want to go home healthy and able to play another game. And I don't think that changes just because of the fact that you're at the end of the season. Maybe I'm a little off base with that. Some players who may or may not be watching can kind of chime in on that.
I know that for a fact that there is one particular player on the Rapid City Marshals that you should be looking out for tonight is Eddie Hamilton. He's playing with a little bit of vengeance, being cut from the Billings Outlaws earlier this season. So he's looking to get a little bit of payback.
Mutual respect. This isn't Pee-wee. You're right. It's not Pee-wee. These are grown men. They understand the consequences of hurting another person beyond, the football field. These guys have jobs outside of this game. It's not like they're making millions and they can go chill on a couch for the next 6 months while they heal a broken leg or something like that. I think there's a little bit more to it in this game, especially for the Marshals who, like I said, they're not really playing in for anything. Their season's basically over. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. They could prove wrong. But I honestly think that there's some stand-up men on that Marshall squad, and I think the veteran leadership will step in and kind of prevent anything from getting too out of hand.
I agree.
So my big question is, can the Outlaws offense continue to protect the ball and remain creative enough to win this game? Now, I know the Marshals are not necessarily the best defense in the world, and the Outlaws have shown to be one of the better offenses, but their passing game hasn't been what we had necessarily hoped prior to Lorenz coming in. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of raise that bar there. But also, you don't necessarily want to give up too much, knowing that this game necessarily doesn't change your playoff seeding. So it'll be interesting to see how vanilla the Outlaws play this game.
Yeah. We'll probably be looking at a new style of offense come playoff time. So they're probably not going to want to play a whole lot. But I do think that Lorenz, Stefan, and those wide receivers are looking to have big games tonight. I'm looking at some of the comments right now. Those scores look accurate to me. 65-24. That's a good one.
I believe it.
I definitely think we're going to score a lot of points tonight. I'm expecting to. I know that the Outlaw Nation, and we're going to give a quick plug, a quick shout out. Outlaw Nation, myself, we're all going to be at the Den tonight watching this game from home here.
Very nice. Very nice. Shout out to the Den for hosting the watch parties for the Outlaw Nation. That's awesome. Gotta love to be able to watch that. Chris has a prediction as well, which is very similar, 55-28. I don't expect this game to be close. I mean, let's go ahead and run through some of the statistics that we got here. Marshall's scoring offense is the worst in the league. They've forced just 186 points on the season. Billings is fifth in scoring at 344 points on the season, almost double what the Marshals have been able to force. Marshals are seventh in scoring defense, allowing 54.4 points per game, which is actually, I believe, higher than what the Outlaws offense is averaging per game. So I expect an offensive explosion as well. Outlaws are fourth in scoring defense, holding teams to 36.6 points per game, and I expect them to bump that average down a little bit in this game as well. Billings sixth with 173.1 yards of offense per game. Rapid City 168.2 yards of offense per game. So really statistically, offensively, they're not that different. But you got to forget the fact that Lorenz came in a week ago. So he hasn't really had a whole lot of ability to affect that yardage total, which he dramatically will affect in this game, I believe.
I agree. And I cannot wait to see it tonight for sure.
Krish, that's a good question. I believe it's just a generic jersey. I'd have to look.
It is. That was a generic jersey.
There we go.
So that number is currently occupied by Daquan Lewis, the defensive back that I said is probably not going to start tonight.
There we go. So I guess I'll have to try and see if I can get Daquan to whip his John Hancock on here someday. I heard a rumor that Lorenz is working for Brown Plumbing. I mean, why don't you go ahead and recap how many players work for you?
Let's see. So I can confirm that Lorenz Stefan works for me. Denarius works for me. Sean works for me. I can't think of all of them right now. Devontae Brown works for me. I think I got 5 of them that work for me.
Nice. Very nice. So part of the perks of being a Billings Outlaw is you get Steve as your boss, which has got to be a pretty sweet deal as far as I'm concerned.
Also excited to see tonight. You know who's been getting better and better each game now that he's returned is Jeff Luke. Man, he really applied a lot of pressure in that game against Gillette. And I think he's just getting his legs under him. He's getting playoff ready. So
very nice.
Hoping to see a big game out of him tonight. I'd like to get him on the show too. So Jeff.
Very nice. Hopefully he sees this.
And then with no D2 tonight, you know who's going to have is prime for a big game on defense. Former guest on this show, Victor Martinelli.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious if he'll be playing linebacker or if he'll still be rushing the passer.
I believe he's going to be playing that linebacker position. We'll see.
That's what I would imagine. One of the big things on the Marshall side that I'm curious about is they haven't really had the ability to run the ball quite yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they can run the ball at all versus this defense, which has been one of the best in the league at stopping the run so far this year, which really is kind of interesting to see because if you think about it, game flow hasn't necessarily dictated that teams wouldn't be running against Billings. So they've still stood up considering the fact that they lost some games and were susceptible to the run game should teams have chosen that. If Sioux City loses their next 2, will Billings take the 4th place and home playoff game?
Yes.
Yes, they will. So it'll be interesting.
Yes. So we are huge Salina Liberty fans tonight as they get ready to face those Bandits. And then they get a tough task at Omaha next week. And do you think Omaha wants to go for the undefeated season, or do you think they go into that game and rest? I don't know.
Rayshawn Kaiser doesn't strike me as a guy that wants to rest, or maybe he will rest, but it'll be a situation where you'll see starters come out and play and show that they're still, mentally invested. And then, maybe we see the backups take over, which we've seen a couple games this season where they've kind of shuffled guys out of blowouts. But I fully expect them to go for an undefeated season simply for the fact that Kaiser just wants to win. That's the type of coach he is. He always wants to be the winner at the end of the day. So I fully expect them to bring their A effort, and it'll be very interesting to watch for sure.
Yes. Yep.
Hashtag Let's Go Coach O. Help get the Billings Outlaws the number 3 seed. Let's go Facebook user. Krish says in the DCU, and I'll take a game against Coach O any day of the week. We'll see what happens. It'll be very interesting to see exactly what happens with the playoff seeding. There's still a lot of stuff to figure out this weekend and next.
My question is if the Outlaws win tonight, they will finish the season 6-4, correct? And then if Sioux City, let's just say Sioux City splits, say they lose tonight and they win next week, or they lose tonight and they win next, or vice versa, and they end up 6-4. How do they determine the tiebreaker?
That's a good question. That's a great question. In fact, let's look and see if they've got it on the website. I don't believe they do.
Does it come down to strength of schedule, or is it points scored? I have no idea.
Okay, so it says wins go first, obviously. Games played is next. So apparently they factor in the amount of games you've played. Because, oh no, the Bandits have 2 more games. That's right. Outlaws have 1 more game, and then the game that's technically an exhibition game. Point differential. So that's third factor. Then games played again, and then head-to-head.
So there's no head-to-head, so it would come down to point differential?
It sounds like it.
So then...
basically, unless the Bandits have 2 pretty horrible games...
Oh, man.
And the Outlaws blow
I feel like Adam Schefter right now. I'm getting inside information.
Oh, yeah? Uh-oh. Breaking news here on the Outlaw Nation. Bob Scott, that's your answer. Foster, are you playing in the game Thursday? Oh, man.
Yep, offensive lineman.
Thanks, Steve, for finding out. That's awesome. No, definitely interesting to see how this playoff seeding works out. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on, especially given the fact that, there's still so much stuff to figure out. Billings could potentially go as high as the 4 seed. They could be as low as the 5 seed. I don't believe SWK can leap them at this point. Let me look at the schedule. Don't believe so. No, so the Storm only have 1 game left, so they're basically locked in as the 6th seed for the playoffs. Then basically at this point, the Beef have the number 1 seed locked up. The number 2 seed is still up for grabs. It depends on how the next 2 games go. If the Liberty beat the Bandits, this leaves everything in question for the final week of the regular season, which the Bandits will play the Beef. And if the Beef go for that undefeated season, they could potentially make it to where the Outlaws win that number 3 seed. And then the Liberty and the Mustangs could be playing for the number 2 seed in the final week of the season, which will be very interesting to see.
Yes. That'll be the game of the week for sure.
This man can kick. Give him a ring. What are you talking about, Chris?
You talking about our new kicker, Billy Perry? He can definitely kick.
I think actually, now that I think about it, Chris at one point, I think I told you off camera, I talked to him about bringing him on for an interview. So we'll have to definitely get him on here soon. And then it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about winning Special Teams Player of the Week. I was hoping that D2 would have an opportunity to get Player of the Week this week, but it looks like he won't be available this week. So do they give it out for exhibition games?
I don't think so.
That's what I thought. I thought they kind of, turn a blind eye to those games.
And I'm hoping that he doesn't play a whole heck of a lot in that game, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Keep him fresh for the playoffs.
Yep.
That's a time where you can get other people involved. I mean, maybe give Rio some more snaps at quarterback. or just get Lorenz the whole game so he can get more acclimated to this offense, get more chemistry with his receivers, but maybe work in some of the depth places along that line and along that defensive line in particular. Get Jeff Luke out of there so he doesn't get injured. But with that being said, we do need to hop over to the Gillette pregame show. So we will catch you guys over there if you're Gillette fans. If not, enjoy the game tonight. Go Outlaws. Hopefully we get another W and walk into the playoffs with some momentum.
For sure. Go Outlaws.
Absolutely.
See you tonight at the Den.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, this episode is brought to you by Magic City Granite. The sponsor for this week's episode of Outlaw Nation is Magic City Granite. Craftsmanship, quality materials, and professional service are what we're known for. For over 20 years, we've created the most beautiful granite countertops in Billings. In addition to granite, we work with quartz, laminate, marble, and soapstone to provide you with any look and style you dream of. We work closely with you and your contractor to ensure a quality project from start to finish. We strive to maximize the aesthetic beauty of your space while minimizing the stress of home building and remodeling. We carry a huge selection of granite slabs that are starved for you to browse, touch, feel, and get close to. The nuances of granite tend to sparkle and delight in the sunshine, so it's really fun to stroll along looking at our inventory. Our experience in measuring, fabricating, polishing, and installing your countertops is what makes our customers so happy. We will get the absolute best product into your home to make it a beautiful and functional space. Come visit us at 5850 Interstate Avenue in Billings, Montana today. Once again, thank you to Magic City Granite for sponsoring this episode of Outlaw Nation on your new favorite network, Shady Sports Network.